Hello and welcome back. This is a follow-up to the capsule wardrobe video that I made earlier this month, and I'll link it up here and down in the description if you haven't seen it. But I just wanted to talk about the thing that if you're using a capsule wardrobe, one of the issues is that you have a limited number of clothes to wear. So you need to be able to look after those clothes really well, keep them looking smart, keep them looking fresh and new, and do it as easily as possible. If you're new, I'm Deirdre, and I'd love you to subscribe, join the tribe, and when you hit that notification bell, put it on for all of them so that you can see the videos that I'm posting, and you don't have to watch them all. You can just decide if it's something that's going to be interesting for you or not. In honour of so many of my friends who are going into winter and fall, I'm going to start with what I call jumpers, and what anybody in the United States will call a sweater, and we'll generally call knitwear, but I'm going to call them jumpers. Before I jump into talking about how to care for your knitwear, I just want to say a couple of things about the best way to make sure that your clothes last for as long as possible. So the first thing you do in terms of clothes care starts before you buy your clothes, and you burrow down inside them, like this, and you find a little tag. And the tag will tell you what the item is made of and will have care on it as well. Now this one says 50% wool, 50% acrylic, hand wash in cold water, do not bleach, do not dry clean, do not tumble dry, dry on a flat surface in the shade. Pretty sensible really, actually. That would be pretty much what I'd say. Though to be fair, I have washed this one on a wool wash in the washing. I have a front loading washing machine, so I washed it on the wool or delicate session on that with some wool wash, and I'll talk about how to wash them in a minute. But you don't always have to do what the label tells you to do, but knowing what the item is made of gives you a really big hint about how it's going to wear. Now this one, for example, being a blend between wool and acrylic, it's going to be warm because of the wool, it's going to be quite soft because of the acrylic, and it's also going to pill or bobble or whatever you want to call it, that nasty little stuff that comes up all over it, and that's a little bit hairy wool and acrylic, but acrylic's particularly bad for it. The thing that I would like to say about knitteds is that this is not, I wore it yesterday, I'm going to toss it in and I'm going to wash it. Be spending all your time washing jumpers. See, jumpers, sweaters, whatever. So the thing that I do to protect them and make them last between washes as long as possible, the first one is that I wear a t-shirt underneath them. Not a singlet, not a camisole, a t-shirt, because a t-shirt has that protection for the underarm. And let's face it, that's the area that gets a bit, So the t-shirt, that can be thrown into the wash and that's not a problem. Nice little lightweight cotton t-shirt. That one's a Uniqlo one, beautifully soft, just stay looking good forever. But really it's to protect the item of outerwear so that you can reduce the number of times you have to wash them. Now this does two things. One, it saves you time. Two, it saves your clothes, because every wash reduces the length of time that that item will be like new. Now the other thing I do is I've got a little hand steamer. Now to be fair, you can do this with your ordinary steam iron. I just often will take off a piece of knitwear that I've worn a t-shirt under, and I will give it a light steam, and that is antibacterial, freshens up the garment, and you can steam out any little wrinkles at the same time, so that the item that you've worn all day, as long as you've had a t-shirt underneath it or a blouse or something else, then that's really, with a freshen up with a steam, is just as clean as it was when you put it on in the morning. Now the next thing you need is a debobbler. Hang on, let me tilt you down and I'll show you what I've got here. I've got my ironing board out with its cover with all things on it that I don't do these days because too busy. But anyway, what you can see here is, this one's particularly bad. Now can you see that is bobbly? See if I can get it to focus. You can see, there we are. See all those nasty little pilly bits under the arm and down the side, often where you put your seatbelt on, or on the elbows if you're like me and you lean on tables. So those little pilly bits immediately make an item look really shabby, and you cannot go wrong buying one of these. They're the simplest way, I think, of doing them, and they shave off those little bobbles and all the little long hairy bits. They won't be perfect, and it doesn't miraculously happen so that wave it over it and suddenly it's done, but it certainly is an excellent way of just immediately lifting an item back from looking shabby and ready for the donation basket, and then suddenly you take off all the bobbles to wash, and then it is back to being like new again. And you can already see that it is a little better. Now it's going to take me probably, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10, maybe 10 minutes to work over this jumper to remove all the rougher bobbly bits, the pilling. But having said that, it was not a cheap item of clothing, and now that we're going into summer here, I will wash this and get it ready for popping away and storing for the summer. Which brings me to washing and storing. You don't have to hand wash everything by any means. I do have things that I would only hand wash. I have, for example, a cashmere jumper that I would hand wash. I do hand wash, and some things I just simply will. But other than that, I use this, which is just it's an Australian-based product, and you may not be able to get it, but there'll be something similar. This one is a wool mix for woolens and delicates, and it's got eucalyptus in it. Now, eucalyptus is an amazing cleaner. It takes away oily stains. It really is an excellent stain remover. Oops, I can come back and talk to you again now, can't I? If I couldn't get that, I would get something like the Dr. Bronner's Castile soap, and I think you can get that in eucalyptus as well. If not, use a little bit of essential oil. Now, as I said, those two I will wash on the very gentle cycle in my front loader washing machine, so there's not much agitation, there's not much friction against them. And then a light spin, I'll lay them flat to dry on an airer, I'll put a towel down, and then I'll lay them on the top, sort of put them into shape. And then when I pack them up, I will put some of these in there. Now these came from Muji, but you can get similar things lots of places. These are cedar sticks. They are just plain cedar wood. It doesn't even really smell, but it does to moths and other things that like to eat wool. Or you can get cedar balls, you can get all sorts of these natural products that work beautifully and have worked beautifully for hundreds, thousands probably of years. People used to have cedar lined wardrobes. That was at the very top end of the market. Put you back up. I'm going to talk to you again about having the top of my head cut off. Now let's talk about general laundry. So we're talking about things like cottons, your t-shirts, your blouses, your lingerie, so any delicates, anything like that, as well as jeans, trousers. For those items, I use as little as possible to get them as clean as possible. I use a cold wash, and I use the smallest amount. In this case, it's a method which is, it's plant-based. It's fairly nice, fairly non-toxic type of product, and I like it. But also, I'm using I use about half a cap max, which is what you meant to. It's a highly concentrated product, but I also use good old-fashioned bicarb soda. I put 1/4 of a cup in every wash, and this is magic. This has superpowers. So what does it do? Well, it's antibacterial to start with, so it kills off bugs, which takes away any need for a deodorizing, or rather it does it actually deodorizes, so then you don't have to layer fragrances over the top of things to make them smell nice, because hey, they're just going to smell clean. So what does it do? It deodorizes, it whitens, it brightens colors, it works like a fabric softener, and it cleans your machine at the same time, and it also doesn't gum up your clothes. Now, I'm not advertising this one in particular, it's just that this is the bicarb I use. It's just bicarbonate soda. We use it in our food, we cook with it. Some people brush their teeth with it. You can buy toothpaste that's got bicarbonate now. It's a really good old-fashioned product. This cost, I think, $2, and that's probably 20 washes. So that is a magic thing, and it means that because your clothes are clean, they don't need to be perfumed, and because this softens them also, you don't need a fabric softener. The thing with fabric softeners is that there are very strong perfumes in them, and the stronger the lovely perfume, then the more of that chemical you are having against your skin. Now, you know that you can take things like anti-inflammatories. If you've hurt yourself and you rub an anti-inflammatory into your skin, it takes it in. The skin absorbs things, topical application. So when you put something on your clothing that is then against your skin, you are holding those chemicals against your skin. Now when I put things into the wash, I put any form of delicates into a mesh bag, zip it up, take the trouble to put that tag under that little tag at the top because it actually stops it from coming off and keeps them working really well for years. These ones are about 5+ years old. Any bras go into a solid one because you don't want the little hooks getting stuck on the hooky bits. I never have an issue with socks. I do not have lost socks. We do not do lost socks. I didn't do lost socks when I had 7 people in the house. Socks go in pairs. You pick them up off the floor, you put them in the laundry basket in a pair, you put the pair in a mesh bag. You wash the pair in the mesh bag, you take them out, you dry them, and you pull them together as a pair. No more lost socks, ever. Always pairs, put them in a bag. So I don't have a dryer. It would have been a real squeeze to get a dryer into my tiny laundry. And I thought, well, it's just me, and I'll air dry things on a drying rack from IKEA. And that's pretty much what I do. I'll quite often put a load through in the morning, and when I go out for a walk, by the time I've come back, it's finished, hang it on the little air dryer, and with that, it's dry by the end of the day. A lot of air drying is really good for your clothes because dryers beat clothes to death. When you take all that lint out of your dryer, you're taking out bits of your clothes that are meant to be attached to your clothes, but the dryer breaks the fabric and sucks it into the lint catcher. Yes, it's convenient. First person to say dryers are super convenient, but they're expensive to run and they're really bad for our clothes. So if you can find a way to air dry your clothes, then I think you'll be surprised how much longer they last. Also, it means that if I'm not putting things into the dryer, nothing shrinks. You don't get that heat activated tightening of the fabric. So that's a really big plus. You know, your clothes pretty much stay exactly the size that you bought them, with the exception of anything that's viscose rayon, which I love. It's pretty close to, well, if you want me to talk about products that are natural, not natural, which are the best ones in my opinion to use, I will. But just a quick thing to say that rayon, first time usage, it will shrink 5%. It's part of the beast. It's I love the fabric, but when you check and you say you've got a georgette or something like a beautiful blouse and it's rayon or it's viscose, then that is going to shrink, as I say, about 5%. So now you know that I'm going to say all the basics like, please divide your laundry into lights and darks. I don't care what people say. If you wash dark things with your white things will start to look grey. If for no other reason, then they get little bits of the darker material sort of into the fabrics, and so they become white grey fabrics. So I always do separate them. The other thing I do is I tend to wait till I've got several items of heavier things like heavy sweatshirts or hoodies, those sorts of things, and jeans, any sort of heavier jeans. I wait till I've got, say, 2 or 3 of those and I wash them together, because the heavier items, if you put them into even, say the jeans are going into a dark wash with lighter weight things like this, the jeans will beat up on these things. They're heavy. They take up a lot of the detergent and the cleaning, but mainly they just knock other things around. They punch them. It's really heavy and, you know, well, you got the idea anyway. As I said, I check for stains and I put the eucalyptus soap wool wash on them. That's always a good option. If they're really tough ones like ballpoint, if you get pen on your clothes, then hairspray gets that out, which is an old trick. But really, stain spotting, do it before you put them in, and pre-treat. I just use the plainest things possible, but leave them on for an hour or 2 to let them dwell and actually work on the stain. Now, how do I look after fancy fabrics? Silk, cashmere. I don't have a lot of either, to be fair, but I've had some in the past. Even really beautifully lightweight quality woolen jumpers, sweaters. Those I would always hand wash. Now, silk, a lot of people only dry clean it, and if you're okay with that, then you just keep doing it. But I don't like dry cleaning compounds for the same reason that I was talking about the toxicity of things like fabric softeners on our skin, which then can absorb them. And the same happens with dry cleaning. So I wash silk the same way I would wash a cashmere jumper. I use something like the wool wash that I showed you, but once again you could use a Castile soap or soap flakes, and just give it a squeeze and a wash and be gentle in cold water, and then you can put it on a towel, a clean dry towel, and gently roll it like a little sausage roll. to take out some of the extra water after you've rinsed it, or you can hang it on a, say, on a plastic hanger. Please don't use a metal one on the off chance that there's any rust moment where it's going to catch. But put it on a plastic hanger and just hang it somewhere it can drip, like in the shower, and then I iron it right then. And if I can't do it right then when it's finished dripping but it's still well and truly damp, then I just gently roll it up, pop it in a plastic bag and put it in the freezer. Take it out. I do let it thaw. I'm not going to snap the sleeves off any silk things, believe me, but just let it thaw. It takes a moment, and then just iron it, and it's as if it was just newly washed. It works the same way, and it's perfect. I've never had any issues with it. It doesn't shrink, it doesn't go funny. If you're not prepared to do that, by all means go and have them dry cleaned, but I tend to tell things that they can either be washed by me or they have to leave the building. I wouldn't buy something that was so exquisitely beautiful that I couldn't risk trying that. And yes, I said the ironing word, didn't I? And yes, I do iron my clothes. I know lots of people don't, but to me it's a really integral part of keeping my clothes looking good. Now, for something like a beautiful coat, a heavy woolen coat, I will steam that. I will, if I go out for the day and I've been in a heavy coat over the winter, I will run my hand steamer up and down it and just freshen it up before I put it away. But for day-to-day things, I have a good steam iron, and I put something on telly and I watch it and I iron, and you get back clothes that look like they're new. Now, the other thing that I do when I'm ironing, and if I'm ironing particularly black things like this, is I use a little lint roller, and I used to go through these at a rate of knots because I had a golden retriever, and golden retrievers and people who have black clothes are not necessarily the best match. These are IKEA ones. You can get a whole bunch of these little things, and you just, when it's finished, you just pull it off this doesn't get replaced, you pop a new one on, and they cost, I think you get 6 for I don't know, a few dollars, and off you go again. It's just sticky paper, but I run that over any of my dark clothes, and it stops them from getting that sort of bloom of, I don't know, it's like even when you wash carefully they can get sort of a fuzzy bloom of lighter colour on your t-shirt. So take it off with a lint roller, and super easy and super cheap from IKEA. Well, I think that just about covers it. If there's anything that I haven't talked about and you'd like to know, then please leave a comment down below. Leave a comment anyway, and if you think I'm crazy, then feel free, but my clothes look like they're new and they last forever, you know, things like this. This must be 5 years old. It's one of the first lot of Uniqlo black turtlenecks I bought, and yeah, my clothes last. They do stay looking good. The white t-shirts die. White t-shirts will eventually die and become cleaning cloths that I clean my shoes with, as you saw the other day. So whatever you think about this, I'd love to hear your tips and tricks, because I think we've all got a few. And if you buy carefully, you check your fabrics, and then you look after them well, really, clothes last beautifully, and you can add bits and pieces in to keep them sort of on trend if you want to mix and match in different ways. But let me know what you think. Subscribe. Come along for the journey if you like this sort of thing, and do remember to hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I put a new video up. And I hope that whatever you're doing today, that you are having a lovely time, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.